Hello again. Hello on a cold Friday for another Burn Friday Burn and the continuation of the commands of Christ. Last week we did command number 36, ask in faith. And this week, moving on to command number 37, bring in the poor. Yeah, I told you it was going to be a hard one because of the situations in the world today, the way the society is, and the people in it. Anyway, bring in the poor. We're going to go to the book of Luke, chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. Jesus said, "Invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. Then at the resurrection of the righteous, God will reward you for inviting those who could not repay you." We'll back up a few verses here in a minute and get a little bit of background and then move on from there. We'll ask a few questions, and mostly we're going to read a lot of scripture because this is one of God's commands, and like I said, it's not mine. So we're going to use His word to back it up. But for me, it's cold today. The wind's blowing about 30 miles an hour, below freezing temperature. When I did Wednesday Word the other day, just 3 days ago, I was wearing a short sleeve shirt. It was so warm. Then overnight, the temperature hit below freezing. We had freezing rain and some sleet, and the ice is just now thawing, and the wind is breaking it up off the limbs, and it's turning into water because the sun's been out. Now the sun's gone and the wind is cold. So I'm going to go get the burn going. Be right back. We'll see how that does. I know I ain't going to feel any heat. I said I was going to back up and pick up a few verses behind that and with some background to them. Jesus was teaching about humility when he come into this uh, talking about the great feast. He ended up getting there, but he had been teaching about humility at the beginning of chapter 14 in Luke. One Sabbath day, Jesus went to eat dinner in the home of a leader of the Pharisees, and people were watching him closely. They always watched Jesus. They wanted to know how he was going to act in every situation and how he was going to respond to every question. And then in verse 7, he noticed that all who had come to the dinner were trying to sit in seats of honor near the host. Yeah, and that was before he went into teaching about humility. In verse 12, Luke 14, verse 12, he turned to his host. When you put on a luncheon or a banquet, he said, don't invite your friends, brothers, relatives, and rich neighbors, for they'll invite you back, and that will be your only reward. Instead, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. Then at the resurrection of the righteous, God will reward you for inviting those who could not repay you. So Jesus wanted to get the point across that the rich people that knew the leader would only invite him because he invited them. So Jesus was teaching them to practice humility and teaching them about hospitality. See, in the Old Testament times, that's what the Jews were supposed to do for one another. They were supposed to be hospitable toward one another, because they were all sons of Abraham. That fire does feel pretty good. Might be a little smoky at times, but it feels pretty good. Making a dinner or a feast for a crowd of guests is no small undertaking, and we know that when we try to have a birthday party for a kid. It's no small task. It requires skill preparing delicious and nutritious meals, making sure there's ample seating for the guests and a way to make them comfortable, practicing hospitality, bringing in the poor. Now, we know that every community has poor people who are capable of getting a job but refuse to work. You can probably catch up on that one in Wednesday's Word. Check that one out. It's not very long. It won't take long to look it over. We're going to see a little bit about what the message in this command is. Jesus told that the person that invited him that he shouldn't have invited all of his rich friends and family members. He should have invited the poor, because the poor wouldn't be able to pay him back. And that's what is meant by bringing in the poor. They can't afford to pay you back. That way, you're not doing it to get paid back. You're doing it out of love for God more than love for people. But God commanded his people to look out for one another. He still does. But like I said a while ago, in society the way it is today, it's hard to even trust those who say they're your friends and relatives. Jesus challenges us to remove our motives for personal gain when we do something for someone else. In the beginning, God told his people, the Hebrews, that when they loaned to their brothers, that they were not supposed to charge any interest, personal gain. They were not supposed to take advantage of them. Again, Luke chapter 14, verse 12. When you make a dinner or a supper, Jesus said, don't call your friends and your brothers and your near kinspeople, your rich neighbors, because they will invite you back to pay you back for inviting them. Expect nothing in return. That's why Jesus said you invite those that can't pay you back. You're investing in the humble normally, because the poor who are genuinely poor are humble. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 23, verses 6 through 8. Don't eat the bread of him that has an evil eye, or desire his dainty meats. Don't desire his delicacies. As he thinks in his heart, so is he. I'm sure you've heard that one said. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Well, he says, eat and drink to you, but in his heart, he's not with you. So, the morsel that you've eaten, you'll vomit up and lose your sweet words. Now you leave with a bitter taste in your mouth, because you see him for who he is. So you invest in the humble, not the prideful. And you do it for Jesus. Like I said before, it's with a humble heart, and you do all that you do for Jesus. I did a video, it's been a while back. You didn't visit me. One of the commands, because in Matthew chapter 25, and Jesus is teaching about the final judgment here. Matthew chapter 25, verse 34 through 40. The king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Then the righteous ones will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality? There's the hospitality part. Or naked and give you clothing. When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will say, I tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me. Do it for Jesus. Proverbs chapter 19, verses 16 and 17. When you keep a commandment, you keep your soul. But when you despise his ways, the Lord's ways, shall die. He that has pity on the poor lends to the Lord, and that which he has given will he pay him again. You can't outgive God. Do it for Jesus. And you honor the poor. Proverbs chapter 22, verse number 9. Blessed are those who are generous, because they feed the poor. Proverbs 31:20. She extends a helping hand to the poor and opens her arms to the needy. This is where it's talking about a wife of noble character. Psalms 112, verse number 9. They share freely and give generously to those in need. Their good deeds will be remembered forever. They will have influence and honor. It goes on to say in verse 10, the wicked will see this and be infuriated. So you're kind to the poor to infuriate the wicked. There's another good reason. So we'll go back to where it all started from. Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse number 7. See, that's way back. Deuteronomy 15:7. But if there are any poor Israelites in your towns when you arrive in the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward them. Instead, be generous and lend them whatever they need. There's two kinds of people, according to Proverbs 17:5, that will not go unpunished. Whoever mocks the poor reproaches his maker. There's one of them. And he that is glad at calamities shall not be unpunished. So don't be glad at calamities. When someone's having troubles, don't make light of it. And if you mock the poor, you reproach his maker. And God is the maker of all. So there you go. It continues to be a heart issue. And if you're giving to those in need, it's a matter of a soft heart and open hands. How about this? Those who walk in the steps of Jesus, those who are followers of Christ, have eyes open to see needs and hands ready to meet them. This was when the church was first getting started. Acts chapter 4, verse 35. People were selling things that they had that they didn't need anymore. And they were taking the money to the apostles to distribute to those who were in need. And laid them down at the apostles' feet, and distribution was made to every man according as he had need. So, like I said, people had things just like we do today, things that's not needed, that can be sold, so that the money can be given and the needs of the poor be met. Pride and fear keeps us from opening our hearts, homes, and hands to the needy. Again, Wednesday word. If you would, go back over there and watch hospitality. I'll put a link up here. So you can just click on that after this video is over with. You can put your pointer on that little icon at the top right corner up there, the little eye in the circle at the end of this video, and it will take you to a link for hospitality. So here's what I'm going to do. My fire is gone, and I am cold. The wind's still blowing, the ice still falling off the trees around me, and the Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians 13:3, though I give all my goods to feed the poor, and I don't have love, what do I profit from it? So, bringing in the poor involves the heart. You got to have love for God first, and then His people. So, why don't you join me again next week for another Burn Friday Burn, and hopefully it'll be another one of them times when I'll be in a short sleeve shirt And we're going to be doing command number 38. We've got 12 more of these. Next week, command number 38, render to Caesar that which is due. So, join me next time for another Burn Friday Burn. The Lord bless and keep you till then.